Hey guys, welcome back to 428 Shibuya Scramble. This is TJ, your gamer girl, signing on. So, last episode, we finished up Osawa's current block and got another bad ending with Minorikawa that we need to do Kano for. So, let's get started. Arriving back at the Shibuya precinct, Kano hurried to the interrogation room. With the investigation currently on hold, he knew that taking any official action would be tricky. If he was going to break through the stalemate, he was going to need Tateno's help. The abduction, the ransom, the attaché case relay, Madia's release, and then Tanaka's death. Maybe Tateno would be able to figure out how all these elements were related. But first, Kano needed to check something for himself. Tateno will never have let Al-Kadawan go free. Kano needed the prisoners to set the record straight. Al-Kadawan sat in the precinct interrogation room, looking brazen and cocksure. One glance at his face and Kano was reminded of what had happened to Sasayama. Fresh anger smoldered at the edges of his mind. There were two detectives already in the room. Seems I wasn't made privy to the details, one of them told Kano. Sounds like they were following orders, carrying that attaché case around, the other added. Kano sat across from Al-Kadawan. There's something I'd like to ask you, he said. We were just paid to do a job. I don't know anything more than that. His Japanese was imperfect, but understood the language well enough. Tell me, how did you manage to escape from Detective Tateno? Escape? I didn't. A faint smile came to Al-Kadawan's lips. You let me go free. Liar! Detective Tateno would never do that. Kano slammed the desk with his fist. I didn't have handcuffs on, did I? Took them off for me. This had to be a lie. It's not like there weren't any other ways to remove a pair of handcuffs. After he took off the handcuffs, Al-Kadawan continued. He pointed his gun at me. Cut the crap! Kano grabbed the prisoner by the collar. But Al-Kadawan went on, unperturbed. He kept the gun pointed at me, but he didn't pull the trigger. So that's when I ran. Why would Detective Tateno want to shoot you? Because I saw him. Saw him. Saw him do what? Let me tell you something interesting, Al-Kadawan said sardonically. There was that girl who was carrying the ransom, right? Kano pictured Hitomi, standing anxiously beside the statue of Hachika. That guy Tateno was trying to kill her. In a fit of rage, Kano Wait! Detective Tateno was the guy with the cane? Oh, shit! So that means Tateno and Achi's dad know each other. His colleagues rushed to interpose themselves. Kano, calm down! Knocked to the floor, Al-Kadawan had gingerly fingered his split lip. And after I gave you such good info, too, he grumbled. Detective Tateno was assigned to protect Hitomi Osawa, Kano shouted. You can't expect me to believe your rubbish. He lunged around the table, ready to throw another punch, but his fellow detectives held him back. Al-Kadawan looked away indifferently. It's your Detective Tateno you should be arresting, not me. That girl's going to get killed. You need to step in line, pal, Kano bellowed. Kano, his colleague shouted. You're the one who needs to step in line. Go and cool off for a bit. Expelled from the interrogation room, Kano immediately pulled out his cell phone and called Tateno's number. Please pick up. He clutched his phone tight, pleading under his breath. But Tateno didn't answer. Kano sat down in a chair in the hallway in a bit of a daze. He found himself holding the present Sasayama had gotten for his wife. I have to do something. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do. Its restlessness gnawed at him like a rabid animal. Hey, Kano. He looked up to see Kuze standing beside him, his expression grave. I I have an update on Sasayama. The director began. Oh no, please don't tell me he's dead. Kano swallowed the lump in his throat. Seems the knife went in deep enough to do some organ damage. He's in critical condition. I see. Kano bit his lip hard. His handkerchief, red with Sasayama's blood, clung to the wrapping paper of Sasayama's present. Kano peeled it away carefully so as to not tear the paper beneath. What's that? Asked Kuze. Sasayama had me hold on to this for him. It's a present for his wife. Ah, I see. Sorry, Director Kuze, for ignoring your orders. Kano's eyes remained fixed on the gift as he spoke. When you get down to it, none of this would have happened if it weren't for me. Some kind of punishment was surely headed his way for acting alone as he had. He probably wasn't getting out of this one with a simple written apology. But Kuze calmly shook his head. What happened to Sasayama isn't your fault. Don't blame yourself, he said. As far as this case goes, I've been given quite the runaround myself. There was a rare note of vulnerability in Kuze's voice. The higher-ups have barely let any information trickle my way, but they're still ordering me around nonstop. It's a real pain in the ass. Kuze fell silent, ruminating. The quiet lingered between the two men for several moments before he abruptly spoke again. Oh, right. I'd like to get your opinion on something. So, Mamoru Tanaka, who we found in the minivan, you know? What you think? Should we oughta maybe release his name to the media? Kuze had slipped into his childish register. He was clearly exhausted. Kano was thrown by the question. It was a rare thing for the director to seek an opinion from a mere junior detective. It feels like there's something not too normal about one of Kenji Oso's subordinates dying, Kuze went on. Kano had the same thought. This felt too intentional to be a coincidence. So here's the question. Should I get the media involved and try to rush for a resolution? Or should I be more cautious? What would you do? About releasing the name? Kano asked. That wasn't such a simple thing to answer. There were so many factors to consider. A tired smile came to Kuze's face. Don't think about it so hard. This is just so I have a point of reference. Tell me what your gut says. I think we should hold back for now. Kuze rumbled. We still don't know if Mamoru Tanaka was murdered or if he committed suicide, Kano pointed out. We should at least wait until we know that much. This case had so many loose ends that could end in dangerous directions. It would pay to be as prudent as possible. Kuze paused for a moment, then nodded. I see what you mean. All right, then. Then, without another word, he headed back toward the conference room. On the TV, the governor's press conference was still going on. I've just requested that each of the railroad companies, starting with JR, stop running trains through Shibuya Station until further notice. As far as the roads go, Route 246 has already been closed to traffic. The executive looked pale as he spoke to the crowd. Is there any possibility of a bioterrorist attack? What about the people who are still in Shibuya? The reporters unleashed a barrage of questions. The governor's face scrunched up. As I've already made clear, this is not a complete blockade. There's nothing to stop anyone from leaving Shibuya on foot. Isn't what you're describing de facto martial law? Spat one reporter. Of course not, the governor snapped. You should be well aware that martial law is illegal. I couldn't declare it even if I wanted to. If you wanted to? So this is a bioterrorist issue then. I never said anything of the sort. The press conference was devolving into chaos. Kano was unsurprised given the circumstances. Still, everyone was doing their best insofar as they knew how. So why not me, Kano thought. It doesn't matter what I do. I just want to be doing something. Just letting time tick by without trying to take action was more than he could bear. Kano. Oh, man. Began to worry about Rumi and decided to give her a call. The phone rang several times before I went to voicemail. The fact that she hadn't picked up made Kano all the more anxious. Jesus, that scared me. He was still staring at his phone when he got a call of his own. When he peered at the incoming call display, his heart nearly stopped. There was Tateno's name. Kano quickly pressed the button to accept the call. Detective Tateno? Detective Tateno, is that you? There was a whole mountain of things Kano wanted to ask. Just what had Tateno been doing this whole time? Why had he let Al Karawan go free? And what had happened to Hitomi? But while he was trying to decide what question to pose first, Tateno spoke. I've secured Maria Osawa. What? The word came out as a startled gasp. Detective Tateno, you have to bring her here, ASAP. Right now, she's... Tateno cut him off. You need to bring Hitomi Osawa to my location at once. Hitomi Osawa? Yes. I heard over the wireless that the man from the U.S. Embassy had her in custody. Kano hadn't been listening to the most recent wireless traffic. Apparently Stanley had managed to find Hitomi. But what was Tateno getting at here? Wait, hold on. What for? I mean, why do you need me to bring Hitomi Osawa to you? There was no reply. Detective Tateno, answer me. Please. Tateno replied as if he hadn't heard Kano's question. There's an office building in Nanpeidai called South Hill. I'll be waiting for you on the rooftop. If you don't bring her, I'll kill Maria. With that grisly warning, he hung up. Kano's hand went limp, and his phone slipped from his grasp and fell to the floor. Kano went to South Hill in Nanpeidai alone. He hadn't brought Hitomi as Tateno demanded, nor had he reported the situation to Kuze. First, he wanted to meet with Tateno and find out what was going on. He took the elevator to the 8th floor. After that, he had to take the stairs to the rooftop. As he made his way up the steps, he tried to imagine what Tateno might want with Hitomi. He hadn't noticed anything suspicious about the senior detective in the lead-up to the stakeout at the Scramble. Tateno had seemed like the same man Kano had always revered. So why was he doing this? Kano couldn't think of a reason. Reaching the top of the staircase, he at last stepped out onto the rooftop. The time for half-baked conjecture was past. Kano would lay his doubts at Tateno's feet. Then, soon enough, everything would become clear. Inwardly, Kano did his best to convince himself of that. A warm breeze blew against his cheek. He took a look around, but saw no sign of Tateno. Detective Tateno, where are you? Getting no response, he began to walk around the rooftop, calling out several more times. It's Kano! I've come as you asked! Where's Hitomi Osawa? Kano whirled around when he heard the voice behind him. Tateno stepped in view from behind a water tank. He led with him a young woman, bound and blindfolded. Why didn't you bring her? He growled. Kano stared in shock. Detective Tateno, why are you doing this? Is that really Maria? And there's the jump to get rid of her. Keep out? Tateno responded by removing the young woman's blindfold. There was no doubt about it. She looked very much like Hitomi Osawa. A surge of frustration rushed through Kano. Detective Tateno, what is the meaning of this? Kano fought to remain calm. He felt like he was on the verge of falling to pieces. Bring me Hitomi Osawa, and I'll let this girl go. Why? What do you need Hitomi for? But Tateno's only answer was an icy stare. This isn't like you. It's so weird. The Detective Tateno who I know. Who you know? Tateno cut him off. What do you know about me? I know what sort of detective you are, sir. Because I've modeled myself after you for my whole career. The older man's expression remained stony. Don't you remember? Kano went on. That time when you risked your life to talk down that man who'd barricaded himself inside that office. Ever since then, you've been my... Tateno interrupted him with a sudden burst of laughter. You really are gullible, you know that? You can only see things the way you want to see them. Well, what do you mean by that? The truth is, I didn't even care if I died doing what I did. That's why I doused myself in gasoline. Tateno's voice had gone low and quiet. That was no display of heroics. It was more attempted suicide than anything else. I wasn't thinking about the other people still inside the building. It's just a coincidence things turned out the way they did. So then if you'd made a single misstep, then everyone in that building might well have burned to death. You're lying! That can't be true! Kano shook his head insistently. I don't have time for this conversation. Tateno pressed the barrel of his gun to Maria's head. If you don't bring Hitomi Osoa to me, believe me, I'll blow her brains out. Please stop this, Kano shouted. But there was no hesitation in Tateno's eyes. He looked like he really would shoot Maria if Kano didn't do as he asked. Hurry up! Bring Hitomi to me. Can't you at least tell me what's going on? Go now, or so help me, I'll shoot. Kano drew his own gun from his jacket. I know you, Detective Tateno. I know there's some meaning behind all this. Kano's words came out as an imploring croak. You think you can shoot me? Tateno spat. Letting El Carawan go free? Taking Maria hostage? This has to mean something. Sweat made Kano's hand slick where he clenched his gun. I asked if you think you can shoot me. I've always looked up to you. You were the sort of detective I wanted to become. Kano's view of Tateno began to blur as tears welled in his eyes. Can you shoot me, Kano? I can. Even as he cried, Kano stood resolutely, doing his best to stare down the older man. He set his finger squarely on the trigger and pointed his gun at Tateno's forehead. Suddenly, the piercing stare vanished from the other detective's eyes. I've got to give you full marks for that, Kano. Tateno smiled thinly. I'll tell you then. I'll tell you while I'm doing this. It all happened 17 years ago. A meth addict assaulted someone in Shibuya. Tateno was questioning people around Dogenzaka in search of the perp. He happened to pass by Endo Electronics. Oh, hey, Tateno! It was Kotane Endo, clad in pristine white. Clutched to her breast was her daughter, Suzune, only a few months old. It's been a long time, Kotane said. She flashed a tiny smile. Yes, it has, Tateno replied with a clumsy smile of his own. Are you on the job? Yes, I am. Kotane recoiled slightly at the dour look on Tateno's face. Is something the matter? There's an armed criminal hiding out somewhere in the area. What? I wouldn't leave the shop for a while if you can avoid it. But I have to go to the bank to deposit some money. Surely you can have Daisuke go do it. He's away on a repair job and hasn't come back yet. Tateno let out one note sigh. I see Daisuke still does things his own way. Alright, let me escort you to the bank. You mean it? I'd feel a lot safer having you with me. Kotane flashed him a smile so white that Tateno thought he might lose himself in it. Tateno, Kotane, and Daisuke, were childhood friends, and had gone to school together up through high school. Tateno and Daisuke were always clowning around together, and Kotane was always there alongside them, laughing. It had been quite some time since he'd gotten to walk along Dogenzaka with Kotane. How have you been lately? Well, with a newborn to look after, it's been pretty hectic. There's never a dull moment. Things have been good. Glad to hear it. Kotane was always as bright as a sunflower. Sometimes, Tateno managed to convince himself that just the sight of her was enough. Outside the bank, Kotane helped Suzune out to him. Tateno received the baby with an anxious frown. What's with the face? I'm not good with babies. I haven't held one very often. Oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry. Just hold on to her for a minute while I take care of things inside. Alright. He held the baby gingerly, like it was a bomb that might explode at any moment. Kotane chuckled softly. Suzune stirred and squirmed in Tateno's arms. She kind of has Kotane's eyes, he thought. It was strange, the sensation of holding a child. She was so soft and light, and yet such a real and responsive presence. The faint warmth of her body warmed Tateno inwardly in turn. When Kotane returned after making her deposit, they strolled to a nearby park, Suzune back in her mother's arms. Do you have any plans for marriage, Tateno? I haven't thought about it. Work has me pretty busy. Oh, that's just an excuse, Kotane said. If there really were some woman you wanted to marry, you wouldn't let work stop you. Then I suppose it's because there hasn't been anyone I felt that way about. Really? Nobody, this whole time? Yeah, really. I see. But still, seeing the two of you like this makes me realize how nice having a family could be. Tateno peered deeply into Suzune's face. Well, if it ain't Tateno. He looked up as a cheery voice cut into the conversation. It was Daisuke. What are you doing here? He asked his wife. I could ask you the same question. Come on, give me a break. I've come to make a deposit for the client. In that case, no need to worry. I just took care of it myself. I thought you'd forgotten about it. Huh, really? Kotane smiled as Daisuke reached down and carefully lifted Suzune in his arms. Beaming happily at his daughter, he nuzzled up against her tiny cheek. Daisuke, long time no see. Yeah, glad you're doing well yourself. For yourself, Tateno. They walked side by side. Daisuke proudly showed up Suzune's drowsing face. What do you think? Adorable, isn't she? Yeah. Luckily she doesn't have your looks. Hey now, bad-mouthing me the same as ever, huh? Some things hadn't changed since high school. Why not drop by our place for a bit? Daisuke offered. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a job, actually. Tateno turned to glance at Kotane. An instant later, Daisuke screamed, Kotane! A man had come up behind his wife and now held a kitchen knife to her throat. Kotane stood stiffly, frozen in terror. Let her go! Tateno took a step toward the man. The slightly upturned eyes, the close-cropped hair, thin mustache, all the details matched the description. This had to be the man Tateno was after. Shut your damn mouth! You want to try and kill me, huh? This lady here wants to try and kill me! The man was babbling nonsense. The reports had said the suspect was a tweaker. Right now, his mind was probably a complete mess from meth withdrawal. Left unchecked, there was no telling what he might do. Tateno shoved Daisuke behind him and drew his gun from his jacket. Wait, don't shoot! You'll hit Kotane! But Tateno ignored Daisuke's shouts and trained his gun on the perp's shoulder. He was confident in his marksmanship. He'd never miss at this range. Tateno, please, back down! Daisuke pleaded. Suzune still clutched in his arms. I beg you! I can't, Tateno hissed under his breath. This isn't someone we can reason with. The assailant began waving his knife about. He could stab it into Kotane at any moment. Tateno had to take the shot now. He aimed for the shoulder of the arm the man held his knife in. Tateno, stop! Daisuke shouted. Don't do this! For a brief moment, Tateno's eyes met Kotane's. He thought he saw her give a tiny nod. Don't shoot! Oh shit. He shot him only for the guy to get back up and stab her in the back. It was all over in an instant. By the time Tateno had the pup subdued, I wouldn't mind that. So long as I got some kisses afterwards. Doing a pup. Wrestling with it. Kotane's white shirt was soaked through with red. With Kotane's death, so too died Tateno's heart. Whatever feelings had lived inside him had been reduced to cinders, leaving only a never-ending need to atone. Countless times he thought of ending his life in order to make things up to Daisuke and his children. The only reason he didn't go through with it was that he knew his death would be the easy way out, and so he stayed on as a detective. He would carry the weight of his sins with him for as long as he lived. This was the sentence Tateno had given himself. "15 years had passed since Kotene's death. For the first time, Tateno had gone to visit her grave. He was standing by the grave marker with his hands clasped when someone called out to him from behind. Excuse me." Oh, it was a woman. A slender young girl stood there, flowers in hand. Tateno instantly recognized her. Suzune. She looked just like Kotone had back in her high school days. "Did you know my mother?" she asked. Yes. We were classmates a long time ago." "Oh, really? Thank you so much for coming." Suzune gave a slight bow, then gazed up at Tateno with her big, bright eyes. You look just like her." Tatsuno struggled to hold back the tears. He felt as if Kotone stood before him, returned to life. "My father tells me the same thing all the time. I'm sure once you're all grown up, you'll be just as beautiful as she was." A forlorn smile came to Suzune's face. "Once I'm grown up? Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I guess I really do have a lot in common with my mother, including the part where I'm going to die young." "Don't be ridiculous," Tateno exclaimed. "Why would you say such a horrible thing?" Suzune took a step backward, looking shocked to be rebuked by a stranger. "My apologies," he said hurriedly. "I didn't mean to startle you." "No, it's alright," Suzune murmured, clutching the flowers close. "Honestly, it's not something I like to talk about myself. But I'm sick, so there's not really anything I can do to change it." "Sick?" "I have a heart condition. A transplant's the only thing that can help me. But my blood type is a little bit weird, and it doesn't look like they'll be able to find me a compatible donor." Then, bowing her head, Suzune stepped in front of the gravestone and clasped her hands in silence. Tateno felt a wrenching pain inside him, as if Kotone were being taken from him all over again. If there really was a god, why would he do such dreadful things? "Is there nothing I can do?" He nearly lamented aloud. "I'll do anything. Suzune. I'll do whatever I have to in order to save you." Tateno clenched his fists as he stared at the grave. "Tell me, Kotone. What can I possibly do for your daughter? Please tell me. Please." And so the months rolled on. Everything changed just after 10 o'clock that morning. Tateno was on the stakeout when his cell phone rang. He glanced at the call display and saw Daisuke Endo's name. He hadn't heard from Daisuke in years now. Fearing that something had happened to Suzune, Tateno answered the call despite his current tense circumstances. At once, he heard Daisuke wailing. "Suzune had a seizure. She might not come back from this one." Tateno's terrible suspicions had been right on the mark. He felt himself growing weak. "Please," Daisuke exclaimed. "You need to shoot that girl you're with. That Hitomi Osawa. You need to shoot her in the head. If we have her heart, we can save Suzune." At first, Tateno couldn't make sense of what Daisuke was saying. "Hurry up and shoot! Shoot her, please! Hitomi Osawa has the Bombay blood type." "Wait, hold on," Tateno said, keeping his voice low. "You want me to kill Hitomi Osawa? Why?" He quickly scanned the area. "Daisuke, are you nearby?" "Wait, where are you?" "Don't worry about that. If you can just render her brain dead, we'll be able to transplant her heart into Suzune." Shooting someone in the head didn't necessarily guarantee they'd wind up brain dead. Even assuming it did, if Tateno shot the Osawa girl here in the middle of the scramble, it would cause a giant incident. By the time the autopsy was complete, the window for a heart transplant would surely have passed. Tateno, shoot her, please! Daisuke, I can't. You know I can't do that. Hurry! It was like his old friend wasn't even listening to him. Look, even if she did wind up brain dead, they wouldn't be able to perform a transplant. But Daisuke kept shouting, "It's fine. It'll be fine. I'll make the transplant work somehow." You'll make it work. Even knowing how ridiculous that was, part of Tateno wanted to know what he had in mind. If anything. I finally found it. I found something we can do for Suzune. Please, help me help her. Tateno understood Daisuke's feelings painfully well. To be helpless to stop the suffering of someone you loved. Nothing in the world hurt as much as that. I want to save Suzune. Tateno, this is the one thing I will ever ask of you. Tateno could hear choked weeping from the other end of the line. And at that sound, something inside him shifted. Yes, Daisuke was right. The likelihood of a transplant happening wasn't the issue. What mattered was that right now he could take action. He could do something for Suzune. He mustered up his resolve, feeling the doubt lift from his heart. For Suzune. For the daughter of the woman he loved. Tateno checked the gun tucked inside his jacket. Then slowly began making his way through the crowd toward Hitomi. Now you know why we're here. Tateno gestured subtly with his gun, its barrel still pressed against Maria's temple. Kano's own gun wavered in his hands. He was crying inside. There was nothing else he wanted to hear from Tateno now. And now, he was sure of one thing. Words were never going to stop this man. Kano, Tateno said. At my age, I've seen all sorts of young detectives come and go. He fixed his loathsome gaze on Kano. And you're about the worst of the lot. Whenever it's time to take action, you immediately do something reckless. Do you know how many formal apologies I've had to write because of you? Tateno let out a heavy sigh. But you know, Kano, because of the way you've looked up to me, you've saved me. And that's the truth. He sounded like a man speaking his last words. Now come on, see if you can stop me. He pressed the gun harder against Maria's temple. Kano took aim at his former hero's head. Tateno. His finger wavered on the trigger. Shoot him. You have to shoot him. If you don't shoot him, Maria is going to die. He tried desperately to convince himself. I am going to stop you. Tateno looked him coldly in the eye. Do it then. Shoot me. Kano stared right back. He tightened his finger on the trigger. Ah! What? No! Did he actually do it? Did he hit him? Or did he miss? Oh, the only one who hasn't gotten to a to be continued or or a bad end. Where's the bad end? Well, I'll get Maria's keep out finished and then finish up Minorikawa. The bad end is gone. Why is the bad end gone? I hadn't run into Hana at all. Oh, either way. That'll be it for this episode. Next one, we'll continue Maria. Until then, this is the Gamer Girl, signing off.